Hi everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Nancy, and if you're new to my channel, you're also welcome. Kindly subscribe, share, and like my videos. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how I made this asymmetric high-waisted skirt. The materials I used in making this skirt is 2 yards of Ankara print fabric and a zipper. The first step is to fold the fabric into two. And I also folded it into two again, so I practically folded it into four. Take note that this fold should be 2 inches away from the previous fold, so the 2 inches distance will serve as the zipper allowance, which will be at the center of the back piece. To know the wideness of the fold you need, you place the tape directly on this first fold, then you divide your hip circumference by 4. Mine is 9.5 inches, so I added 3 inches allowance to that, which made it 12.5 inches. Here is a simple illustration of how this skirt should be. My desired skirt length is 21.5 inches. But since I have a waistband which will be attached to the top of the skirt and ruffles which will be attached to the bottom of the skirt, this simply means that I'll be cutting the main body of the skirt first. The first step is to mark the waistline, which is also the starting line of the skirt. Now I'll go ahead to make an horizontal line which will be ½ inch below the first line. A waistband is to be attached to the waistline of the skirt. So the length of the waistband is 2 inches. So I placed my tape vertically, making sure that that 2 inches is directly on the second horizontal line. The next horizontal line should be the hip line. Since it's a high-waisted skirt, my hip line is 9.5 inches. But for this skirt design, I will advise you to just add extra 1 inch to it. That will make mine to be 10.5 inches. The next step is to make a dart. So I placed my tape on the center of the fold as shown. The width of the dart is 3.5 inches. For a plus size person, you can mark 4.5 inches. While the dart length vertically downwards is 4 inches, and for a plus size person, you can also make use of 4 inches. The next step is to mark ½ inch on both sides of the dart line to connect both points to the end of the dart length. So let's take note of the wideness of the dart. On the waistline, I would place the waist circumference. The waist circumference divided by 4 is 7 inches. So I added the 1 inch that was gotten from the dart, which made it 8 inches altogether. After which I'll be adding 2 inches sewing allowance by the side. Now on the hip line, I'll divide my hip circumference by 4, which is 9.5 inches. Then I added 2 inches sewing allowance to that. The next step is to connect the waist point to the hip point. I'm making use of a straight ruler because this isn't a pencil skirt. Looking at the illustration, it's obvious we have an inverted pyramid shape. To achieve the shape, I placed my tape vertically downwards from the hip line to mark 6 inches. So on the hip line where I have the sewing allowance, I'll be dividing the allowance into two. The purpose of dividing the allowance into two is for you to properly secure the sides. As we follow through, you would understand the importance of dividing the hip allowance before creating the slant line. Now for the zipper allowance, at this edge where I had the tip of the triangle, I extended the line horizontally. For the center of the back piece which has a zipper allowance, I would place some measurements which will prevent the butt from being flat or pressed. On the side of the waistline, I would mark 1 inch, and on the side of the hip line, I would mark 1.5 inches. And on this line, I would mark 1 inch. The next step is to connect the 3 points together. All right, so the body of the skirt is ready. I'm going to trim this out. The next step is to notch the darts. So this will serve as a guide in making the darts for both the front piece and the back piece. This is the front piece of the skirt. I'll take this to my sewing machine to make a straight stitch to secure the darts, and the other side where I notched, the darts will also be secured. So this is the back piece. Remember we had like a zipper allowance on this side, so you don't get confused. I would also secure the darts which is on the back piece of the skirt. So I've secured the darts which is on the back piece. I would place both pieces on each other to secure the center of the back piece, making sure that I have an opening for the zipper. I placed my tape on the waistline vertically to mark 7 inches. From this point, I'll secure both pieces together vertically downwards to the hem. Alright, I've secured the center of the back piece. I went ahead to place the front piece on the back piece as shown. The next step is to secure the sides together. Please take note of this point, which will be connected to the exact waist measurement as shown. I used this point because I didn't want the skirt to be fitted on my hip region. Now I'll just mark the same sewing allowance on this side to the other side to connect this point vertically downwards to this other point. I took the skirt to my sewing machine to make a straight stitch directly on this line. I trimmed out the excess seam allowance which I used initially as a guide. So I turned the skirt to the right side of the fabric. To know the wideness of the ruffles that should be attached to the bottom of the skirt, I placed my tape to get the overall measurement of the inverted triangle, which is 50 inches. Width of the fabric should be 50 inches times 2, that is 100 inches. But I didn't have to calculate that much since I decided to use 2 yards to make the skirt. So what I did was I folded the fabric into 2 equally. To get the length of the ruffles I need, I subtracted the hip line measurement from the full length of the skirt, which will be 21.5 inches minus 10.5 inches, and that is 11 inches. So I added 1 inch sewing allowance for the hem of the skirt, which made it 12 inches altogether. I placed my tape vertically from the starting of this fold to mark 12 inches. I also went ahead to place my tape on this 12 inches line I marked 12 inches again. The next step is to trim out the fabric. All right, I'll be attaching the sides of this fabric together by 1/2 inch. I'll also do the same for the other side. All right, guys, I've been able to attach the fabrics together. So I'll be taking this to my sewing machine to stitch the ruffles directly on the inverted triangle by 1/2 inch. Before attaching the band to the skirt, take note that there is usually excess fabric of the front piece. To trim out the excess fabric, I folded the skirt's waist into two equally. Just to show you, there is actually an excess fabric in the center of the skirt waist. I placed the ruler horizontally on the skirt waist, and obviously you can see a little fabric protruded around this region to the waistline. The next step is to take the round waist measurements with the zipper sewing allowance included. So here I have 30 inches, which simply means that the length of the waistband should be 30 inches. The next thing I did was to cut out the band. The wideness of the band is 5 inches, while the length of the band is 30 inches. And I went ahead to place a gum stay on half side of the band. I folded the band equally and used the pressing iron to secure the fold. So on this side of the band without the gum stay, I placed it directly on the wrong side of the waistline to secure it by 1/2 inch all through. I folded the band into two, making sure that it covers the joining that was previously made. Now I'll take this to my sewing machine to stitch all through the waistband. This looks very beautiful. So the next thing I'll do is to attach the zipper to the zipper allowance at the center back of the skirt, and also secure the hem of the skirt by folding it in. Alright guys, this is the final outcome of the skirt. You should give it a try, and if you are new to my channel, kindly subscribe, share and like my videos, and also put on your notification bell to be notified when I upload new tutorials. Thank you.